On today's starting nine, we send our absolute best to friend of the program, Liam Hendriks, amidst the recent news of his cancer diagnosis. We'll revisit our conversation with him from this summer's All-Star game at the end of the show. Before, there's a startling new deal, another that simply won't get done, the first sign of Steve Cohen's reluctance, and a roundup of the National League East. Let's have a nice show for Liam. Action! Welcome back to Starting Nine. Carl here in Chicago. Soon-to-be national champion Jake Arrieta in Texas. Good luck tonight. By the time this podcast comes out, you will either be a winner or a loser.
Yeah, we'll know. We'll know soon enough, man. It's a scary game, but it's a situation that you're undoubtedly going to find yourself in when you're playing for a national championship. Georgia's a tough team. They're a scary team. They're looking to go back-to-back, which I don't I'm assuming that, Colin, you can chime in. Was Alabama the last to do it? Probably not that long ago. But yeah, it's going to be a test for us. Michigan was a test, absolutely a test, and we overcame that. So we'll see. It seems like destiny for TCU this year, but all that stars aligning shit doesn't really matter when you step on the field. We'll see how it goes, man. We're fired up. Cooper's fired up. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do as far as watching the game. Kevin Millar was going to have a bunch of people at his ranch, which is about an hour away. So we might be doing that. But we'll see. We'll see. We're fired up.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck. I know what it's like as an Illinois fan. You know, we've got a storied history of championships. I wasn't alive when they happened, but like Dick Butkus, man, Rose Bowl, 63, that was a big fucking year. That was huge. All bullshit aside, though, we said in the introduction, not really interested in talking about anything else until we get to Liam Hendriks. So start here, news drops, friend of the program. We're going to drop the interview we had with him this summer at the All-Star game at the end of the show. Out of respect, I want you guys to see how sweet this guy is. He's so cool, and he's all over the news, obviously, because of Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, cancer diagnosis, tough as fucking nails. Great teammate, great story in baseball. Really fucking shitty news here.
Yeah, it's tough to hear. I mean, I was shocked, and you know, I had my 82-year-old grandmother in town for 4 days, and my aunt. I haven't seen her in 4 or 5 years, and they were in town from Missouri, and it just makes you realize. How precious time is and how things could be potentially taken away from you at any moment's notice. We've seen a couple of these things kind of happen in the baseball community. It obviously happens to people around the world every single day. And it just makes you want to be more grateful of the very short time that we are here. And it just made me want to kind of hug grandma and my aunt, because I don't know if I'm ever going to see her again. And situations like this where, somebody in a position like Liam, a professional athlete who sometimes you feel invincible, and then you're hit with news like this. So, just really thinking about him, and like you mentioned, the time we spent together, and you get to know the type of guy he is, completely away from the game of baseball. An infectious personality, somebody who the city of Chicago has fallen in love with as a person and a player. So, thoughts and prayers obviously go out to Liam Hendriks, and we wish him the best with his recovery. And hopefully he's, baseball is obviously completely irrelevant during this time. So we just hope that he can come out the other side healthy.
Yeah, tough as nails, but we're talking about a disease that doesn't really, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't care. It's and people that aren't completely familiar with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, it's something that directly affects and attacks your lymphatic system, which is your body's ability to fight off germs, and if that's no longer able to happen, things can get tough. But he's young, he's healthy, and I'm sure he's going to be able to fight this with no problem. So yeah, like we said, we're just thinking about him, his family, and the entire community around him, and hoping that everything goes as smooth as possible.
It almost feels inappropriate to talk about the impact on, right? So, like, if Liam Hendriks is out for the year, what do the White Sox do? This could be one of those things that kind of pushes and brings the team together, I would guess. You know, a teammate gets sick and a veteran, someone who it's a reliever of the year. We're not talking about just like an effective pitcher. We're talking about at times like one of the best relievers in baseball. So I would imagine the team rallies around this.
You kind of have to, and I just think yes, this is directly affecting and hitting the Chicago White Sox, but it's hitting the baseball family, as a whole. But it's an opportunity to kind of come together even closer than they were before. Like I said, it's unfortunate that sometimes in life things like this or other things that directly impact like your circle or your family or your extended family to make you kind of realize how important like the little things are, like just reaching out to somebody you haven't spoken to in a while, or telling somebody you love them, and we get caught up in life, and we're just kind of going and going through our business and our routine, and we forget about the little things. So in this is something that's gonna have a huge impact on a lot of people's lives, those closest to Liam, first and foremost, but then obviously the baseball community. So it's a time for the White Sox to kind of put their arms around each other and try and and obviously be there as much as they can for Liam and his family. But then the game still has to go on. So how do they handle that? That's it doesn't feel right to really talk about baseball in a moment like this, but we know that the show is going to go on. So we'll see how they handle that, because they're going to be without him, for at least a while. We know that for sure. And I don't know. I'm not super familiar with how the treatment will go, how long he could be out if things go extremely well, like when he could potentially be back. And again, like we said, this is secondary, but I think it's something that, everybody wants to know. Everybody's going to be asking, if he can fight this and beat this. It is uncomfortable.
Yeah. If you're a White Sox fan and you're looking at the team, you love the team. You're like, there are for sure baseball fans walking around Chicago being like, when are we allowed to ask if he can come back? Right. And sure, that's a little. Is it
insensitive? I don't know. It is how fans are.
If they were walking around mad that he got cancer, that's insensitive. If you're being like, well, okay, that's what you get for living by a body of water your whole life. Or I have no idea what that argument looks like. I'm just saying.
I'm sure there are people out there like that were devastated from a baseball perspective, and not that he had that this is happening to him personally. Those people exist, but I don't know, man. It's scary just to even look into it. I was just doing some research behind it, and I don't even want to talk about some of the stuff that comes up. It's just we always think that we're going to be able to fight it and everything's going to be just fine. But there is another side of it that is a little bit scarier. And like I said, I don't even like to think about that. My mind is just on him going through treatment, getting to remission and being healthy enough to be able to play again. I'm on the positive side.
Glass half full. I know that Liam Hendriks is going to use this to impact other people, and he's going to be the type of guy who is going to make a presence in this community. Like, he's the outreach. I know he's going to be the type of guy that brings attention and raises money and is there for fucking kids and is like that's the type of guy Liam Hendriks is. I know that, spending time with him. Like I said, we're going to air a conversation we had with him this summer at the end of this episode. And anybody who's not entirely familiar with Liam Hendriks should come away at that conversation being like, holy shit, that guy's so cool. He skipped like family lunch at the All-Star game to hang out for a minute. So
yeah, and he had his folks in town, and his wife was there. I don't know if there were anybody else with him, but yeah, I took the time to come over to the hotel, and man, he looked unbelievable. The hair, just the outfit. And we just had such a good conversation. And, I'm looking at some of his comments about this and the news, obviously a shock to himself and his family. But he recognized that, this is something that also affects, millions of families around the world each year. And I think that, what he can do in this situation for other people is help provide strength and optimism, to be able to fight this and to regain their health completely. So, and you're right. I think that there are young children or people, middle-aged people or elderly that are going to see this situation and hopefully gain some strength from it, from Liam and his comments and kind of battling this thing with him.
I know it's oversaid or whatever, overplayed, but sincere thoughts and prayers. Sincere thoughts and prayers to Liam Hendriks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, in that interview we're going to post at the end of the show. There's some other big stuff going on in the baseball season. We kind of get warmed up. I think we're 79 days out from opening day. Pitchers and catchers report in a couple weeks. We got the World Baseball Classic in a couple weeks. Things are very much heating up. The free agency market's dwindling down. The trades are starting to peel up. There was one huge deal, though. Shout out Boston Red Sox. Just a couple weeks ago, we sat here questioning them with Chris Cotillo. What the hell's going on there? Where's the money with John Henry? Are they trying to get out? Can't make any sense of it. They're not committed to Xander Bogaerts. They toss that relationship. Everybody that won a World Series with him in 2018's essentially gone. And then they come out and $331 million for the third baseman, Rafi Devers. Two big takeaways. Positionally, we talked a lot about shortstops getting a ton of money and their values through the roof. And so now you get to lump the third base into that too. Because first baseman this year, $16.5 million for Rizzo, $16.5 for Josh Bell season. Like first base value is going one way. Shortstop's going the other way. Devers is the first huge third baseman, so Machado's going to elect free agency next year. There's money to be had all over the place. Let's go back to Devers, though. Your thoughts on the 331 big ones?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, we we kind of talked about how, or I mentioned that you have to lock this guy up. After Bogaerts leaves and signs a big deal with San Diego, Devers is the last guy left. He's basically your last guy, and you can't let him get to free agency. You got to keep him in Boston. And we saw that, they originally agreed to like the 1 year 17 to avoid or arbitration. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. And then it might have been the same day or the next morning when the deal was announced. So, good on the Red Sox for getting this deal done. Congratulations to Devers for securing a massive amount of money and knowing he's most certainly going to be in Boston for a long time. He's an incredible player. Love watching what he can do at the plate. I know that there were knocks on him defensively early in his career, and he's turned himself into quite the defender. So yeah, I love the signing, and it just continues to amaze me, the type of money that's being thrown out there. I love it. I do. It's just when you watch what happens from off-season to off-season, things change very dramatically from the types of contracts teams are willing to pay out. Is there some collusion? Yeah, of course there is. Because it's almost like the mindset across the game of baseball is the same from off-season to off-season. Like, this is how we value players this off-season, and then this is how we value them the next off-season. Very interesting. But for whatever reason, and in big part because there were so many marquee free agents, especially at the shortstop position available, and teams knew what it was going to take to get these guys in their uniform. And, obviously with, Devers in there, not as a free agent, but they're locking him up, and then Aaron Judge, and a ton of money being handed out. But I love to see it. I've always said it. Look, the more money these players can get, it just it helps the game of baseball and the future players. And we all know the franchise values, where they're at and where they're going. There's money out there to spend.
The Rafi Devers contract makes me immediately think that Aaron Judge is underpaid. I know they're both great players. I know Rafi Devers is all. Aaron Judge is so fucking good. $360 million 9 years. $330 11. I know 2 more years. I know 30 less million.
Yeah, it's not a big gap there, is it?
Like Aaron Judge, go get 50 million. Like Aaron Judge should go back to free agency now. He should have an option in his contract where, like, after everybody else signs their big deals, he should go back to free agency and be like, wait a second. Wait. I want $400 million. And I'd fucking pay him.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he's looking like, damn, okay, like this is what I've done and this is what I got. And then you're seeing guys that maybe aren't in your tier that are signing for just about the same money as you. I don't know. I mean, if it's me, if I'm making between 30 and 40 or 40, a little over 40 million a year, I don't give a shit what everybody else is making, really. Like, if you sign for as much as me, awesome. It's good for the game. Is it a little surprising? Yeah, I think so. But yeah, it's an interesting point you bring up when you see quite a few guys kind of on par with the salary that Aaron Judge is going to be making.
Yeah. Not like crazy far off, right? Not
that far off.
What you'd expect. Now, Devers, 25. He's played 4 straight, essentially full seasons. Missed 20 games last year, but to me, if you play over 140 games, kudos, hats off. That's like my threshold for judging. He's got a lot of bandwidth to get better. Now, I remember this past summer, Red Sox are in town at Wrigley. And I very much like seeing American League teams at Wrigley that don't often get in there. And the Blue Jays are in town, can't miss. Love when the Blue Jays come in town. Blue Jays fans travel like crazy. They're the nicest people. Red Sox fans also travel well. Are they the nicest people? If you're on their turf, maybe. But my point is, I saw Rafi Devers. I bought my tickets as close as I could to third base because I just wanted to watch Rafi Devers. And it's about as impressed as I've been from how much better I thought he was than the guys on the field. I can't remember a time I went to a game and looked at a player and was like, that guy's that much better. Now, I'm kind of discrediting what I just said about the Aaron Judge contract, but his hacks in the box, he swings so fucking hard.
Different. It's different. It's like him and Jose Ramirez in the box, like you were just saying. They're just better. It's noticeably better than the other guys on the field. You're absolutely right about that. And if you just look at Devers, lines, his stat lines from year to year, I mean, they're nice numbers, but if you're just looking at those from 2018 through 2022, are you saying that this is an 11-year, $330 million guy? Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, just look at those, and would you say, okay, this is the contract I would expect this guy to get? Like, I don't think so. But when you see him play, you see him on the field, you see what he's capable of, like it passes the eye test.
Well, they also skipped on these extensions for Mookie and Xander.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing the guys that Boston had at one time together.
And they didn't have a little bit of money for – I mean, now this is where I'll get killed by Red Sox fans. I'm not in your fucking MLB trade rumor Twitter feed throughout the offseason, but taking a step back and looking at them, they didn't pay – they let Schwarber left, right? Schwarber came in, ripped it up for the postseason, won everybody over. He went somewhere else.
Well, and you go back to the Cubs. They didn't want to give Schwarber $8 million. And isn't that what he signed for when he went to?
Yeah, but then that just tells me that there's like something else going on. When I see that a player like Kyle
What the
Schwarber
fuck is it though? Like what he did, I don't know. And you just the more you're around, the more you see, you realize like teams ultimately don't care that much about like what you did or what you were a part of, or else you wouldn't see so many situations where huge names walk from teams or are let to walk from teams that were just part of something that you haven't seen before in a generation or whatever. So you become less shocked the more and more you see it. But like with the Schwarber deal, like maybe was there something there?
Yeah,
I
had
just
to be
don't,
something going on.
But I don't know what it could have been.
I think maybe years of them saying we're taking some kind of risk with this guy because he's an alternative type of slugger, and it's just not there relative to other stuff we're giving up, and maybe they got fed up. And I'm not even saying you could get fed up. Like fuck it, he was out all 16, came back 17, was brutal the first half of the season. Had to go up and down. There were some points there where, like in Kyle Schwarber's career, is he going the complete opposite way? But they just needed to be patient for another season. They just needed to be patient for 2 more months, 3 more months.
2020 is just such a weird season. Like the COVID season, players were impacted in so many different ways. Just personally, like, I couldn't. It was hard to focus on the game of baseball with all the bullshit that was going on. We're kind of in quarantine from the rest of the world. We can't leave the hotels on the road. We have monitors watching our every move. Like, what the fuck is going on? So focusing on baseball was tough. And you look at Schwarber and, that season he hit 188 in 59 games. Like, he's a much better player than that. Was he affected like a lot of guys were just from all the circumstances around the game? And we're basically like caged animals for that entire season. A strange year. But, not to get long-winded on Schwarber, it's just shocking to me. What if he was a free agent this year? How much fucking money is he getting?
He's probably, because you can DH now, Universal. He's probably getting
$150 million.
Maybe not that much, but over 100. Certainly over 100.
Yeah.
Which again, we're talking about a guy who for $8 million, got passed over, and going back to Rafi Devers, the fact that the Red Sox are like, okay, the money here, we have the money for you, Rafi Devers. They didn't have it for Xander. They didn't have it for Mookie. The Mookie one would kind of shake me up a little bit, because if Mookie was still there for a couple of years, I feel like that really fucking threw a wrench into the system for the Red Sox. Like, they got cold feet then, or didn't want to fuck with the luxury tax then, but now they're going in on this guy. So, great player. Rafi Devers is going to be an all-star for as long as he's healthy.
Yeah, the money, it's insane money. It is. It's crazy. I'm very interested to see like what's going to happen next off season. Do they fucking tighten the belt like crazy after this one, or I don't know. It's just I can never. You try and figure it out and kind of play along with what's going to happen and what guys are going to sign for and where they're going to go. Yeah, I'm just never right.
It's hard when you guys got guys like Scott Boras pulling strings, which reminds me, this Carlos Correa news is never going to end.
Yeah, where are we at with this?
So as of today, Monday, January 9th, Carlos Correa has not agreed with the Mets. They very much want him. Boras wants to do the deal. It's clear money isn't an issue, and years aren't an issue, all things equal. Like, Steve Cohen's got the money, he's got the time, didn't give a shit. There's a story out there this past weekend, too. Steve Cohen made $1.7 billion in profit off of his hedge fund. That's just like profit, or like interest profit. That's not even like just interest income. Am I making sense right now? $1.7 billion? Gives a fuck.
Just on interest?
Yeah. So, Steve Cohen, what he doesn't like, though, is risk. That's why he's so rich. He knows how to take advantage of risky situations. And so in this case, the tie-up is they won't do a deal because he wants protection in this contract to get out. He wants assurances. And Boras is like, this is too fragile of a contract. And so now they can't come to an agreement on it because Boris wants more certainty and Steve Cohen's not willing to give up. Now, this is the thing Steve Cohen will not lose on. Steve Cohen will give you all the fucking money in the world, and he'll give you the years. What he will not do is give out a deal where he can get utterly fucked on it.
Yeah, neither side wants to get fucked on this. And that's totally understandable. I guess we won't know for sure, like, what the issue is, but or maybe we do. I mean, it seems to be that it's his a lower leg issue. I want to say, was it 2014 when he had like an ankle repair or something like that? Like, is this? It's obviously that serious. But anytime you're talking about, $200+ million, it's very serious. I don't know if, and I don't know how much more information you might know or Colin. But is his fucking lower leg or his ankle that much of a concern? Like, people break their shit and they have surgery and they break an ankle or whatever, then they come back and they're fine. I'm confused.
I think they're at the level with these physicals where they can project, where they're evaluating the body and then projecting it over, 1,000 games, 1,200 games. And so there's probably some structural issue where Correa is like, I got no problem. It's fine. I rehabbed it. But based on what I would guess to be pretty intense technology or whatever, radiology.
Yeah,
I got to get more red on the physical
Is there
process.
something? Well, I mean, we've talked about it. I mean, it's a very in-depth process. In any, like, previous or prior injuries that you've had, like, they're going to kind of dive into that. They're going to question everything. They're going to look, they're going to scan, they're going to do bone scans and all that stuff. And that's totally fine. Like I told you, when I had, 2 elbow surgeries, they wanted to check those. They were minor, they were bone spurs, but they're going to look and make sure that there's nothing in there that could cause concern or create some sort of issue. Like, hey, is this guy going to potentially spend, half of his contract on the IL? Then that's a big issue for the team, and understandably so. But as far as Correa is concerned, I mean, maybe it was, I don't know. He's 28 years old. He's in peak physical condition. A lot of these guys have had surgically repaired, ankles, legs, fingers, wrists, shoulders, elbows. So I don't know. This is kind of something that I've never really seen before.
Well, now it makes me think about the Giants owner saying that, the deal fell apart, or the Giants were trying to take responsibility for not getting Correa and saying we could.
It kind of seems that way, but they, again, they tried to get Judge supposedly. I mean, the Giants had to get somebody. No, they didn't. They got nothing.
Let's stay in the NL East for a second. I have to address Braves fans, and I got to get somebody from the Braves back on the show here to talk about this. They do nothing but eat trash on social. I've said on this show, hey, Colin, let's clip this for social, and then I'll go on to say some ridiculous thing about the Braves that might have 1% truth to it. Makes its way to social, and the next thing you know, my entire week is just Braves fans. Every 5 minutes, someone's come over the top. You're a moron. You suck. Yeah, no shit. Last week I said the Braves, maybe it's a bad idea all these guys are signed to affordable contracts for so long. Of course it's not a bad idea, you dumb fucks. Just got to get this off my chest. I like Braves fans. You're passionate. But if you even say the word Atlanta Braves on Twitter, people get mad. You could say the Atlanta Braves are good, and Atlanta Braves fans will say they're great. You're wrong. You could say they're great, and they'll be like, you're wrong. They're one of the best organizations in all of sports.
Ever, of all time.
You could say they're one of the best, and they'd say you're wrong.
Yeah, well, keep going, man.
Here's my point, though. I want Braves fans, I understand why you have the energy you do after I've spent as much time as I have around Colin Cooper and other Mets fans. You got to be living on fucking edge. You're all the way down south, nothing to do with the Northeast. And every time you go up there, it's just loony bin city. Everybody just talks shit. So you're just probably down in Atlanta. All you think people do is talk shit. So you're just fucking ready to fucking, Tommy want wingy. You're ready to go. Leave me alone. I like you guys.
Where are you going? Where are you going with this?
I just want to get this message into Braves fans that, like, you don't have to eat the trash. You can continue if you want to. Huge fan of the organization. It's a great club. Dude, they won a division championship like 20 of the last 28 years or something fucking insane.
Yeah.
They're still upset.
It's phenomenal. Yeah, fan bases there's always upset sections of fan bases all over the place. That's why I just I never really was a fan of checking comments. It just pisses you off. Fuck them. Let them be angry.
So I got that off my chest about Braves. I like Braves fans. Nice people. Southern gentlemen. Some charm.
There's some charm there. Yeah.
Some. Atlanta's affordable. I like visiting Atlanta too. That's my bid on Atlanta. I will be in Atlanta this year. I picked out a game. I think it's Phillies at Braves. May 14th. All right.
Hey, some of the best looking women in Atlanta too. So if you're single, stop by a Braves game. I'm just saying, if you're a single guy, not for us, but if you're in the area, you're looking for love, stop by a Braves game.
If you're into hot chicks,
yeah, they're there.
Philly got hot chicks. They just acquired Gregory Soto. Bullpen is getting thick back there, real thick.
It is. Women, yeah. I mean, there are some. It's no Atlanta though. Yeah. Hold on. We gotta look at this. I like Soto though.
Would you Google Atlanta women?
No, absolutely not.
Escorts.
Let's see. So yeah, I mean, he throws $1 billion. We're talking about.
He's good. He was like the only good player on the Tigers last year, I thought.
Yeah, I mean it's a nice move. It's always a nice move to have something like that at the back end of the bullpen. And from what I've seen, he's pretty erratic, but he's got that heater. He's got that electric heater, and he's got a good breaking ball. I mean, who wouldn't want to have that back there? I mean, he needs some work. Definitely needs some work, but going from a team like Detroit to Philly, it almost makes you bet a little bit better just by being in that clubhouse, knowing you're going to be in a position to have a chance to win the division and make a deep run in October. Like now what's expected of you, and in Detroit that not necessarily the case. The organization doesn't really know, and the players don't really know what they're going to be or when they're going to be good. Now Soto going to Philly, he's like, okay, like I'm on one of the best teams of baseball. Now it's time to turn it up a little bit.
Phillies keep adding. I don't know how big that roster gets. You could only carry 26 guys, and every time I look up this offseason, the Phillies are adding more guys. They're going to go into spring training with just a number of options in the back of the bullpen. Again, third place team makes it to the World Series. Not great first half of the season here. Here comes Rob. I know the Mets get a lot of the love and the Braves are signing these deals. I still feel like Philly's just hanging around in the third place, lingering conversation in the NL East. But then it's these moves. These Greg Soto trade pops up. Ullman from the Cubs. Like you said, Kimbrel last week. You get a couple of these guys with a chip on their shoulder and you have a really nasty bullpen. Like everything else to me in the Phillies is rock solid. Like their biggest issue last year I thought was blowing games and not being able to like manage that bullpen. So kudos to Dombrowski. Kudos to Dave Dombrowski. Last thing on the NL East. We're doing a lot of NL East here. I think the Marlins said they're going to fucking trade everybody but Alcantara. So I don't get any of that.
Well, they've done it before. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
But keep your Cy Young Award winner?
Well, I mean, if you're going to get rid of the rest of them, why not let him go too? And then just, what was it in 2015, 2016 when they had that outfield, they had Stanton there. Help me out. Ozuna, Yelich.
Yeah. Yelich?
I mean, they had a really nice team. They were a couple arms away from potentially being a playoff contender. They shipped those guys, and now they're going to do it again with the rotation. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, they had Josh Johnson, Mark Burley, Jose Reyes at the big league level. Ozzie Guillen was managing that team. And the Greensboro Grasshoppers one year, the lineup when Joey Bonadonna, Christian Yelich, Marcelo Zuna, JT Realmuto. I think Stanton hit. No, Mark Canha hit fifth on that team.
Canha, yeah. I mean, that was a nice team. They just weren't very good at preventing runs. They could score a little bit. Who knows? Yeah, frustrating for the few Marlins fans that there are out there. You know, I mean, it's a weird fan base, and it's hard to latch on to a team when they just continue to get rid of their best players.
The only reason
frustrating.
The only reason Miami has sports franchises is because other owners want to go to Miami. Miami people don't. And if you live in Miami, you know why. You're in Miami. Who gives a fuck about the football team? If I lived in Miami, I would not be watching. I'm from Chicago. I'm a degenerate. Like, of course I'm watching the baseball game. Of course I'm watching the basketball game. You know, like, I'm in Miami. Just go take one look outside. It's paradise. Everybody's good looking. Beaches, food, music. It's just like everybody's sexy. Get out of the house in Miami. I'm going to baseball games.
Yeah, it's tough there. It's like, you know, here in Austin, I believe the reason they probably won't have like an NFL team or a Major League Baseball team is because there's just like the University of Texas is that in this area, and there's a lot going on. There's so many other things to do. It kind of seems that way in Miami. But then again, you've been to Miami. Like it's to me, it's a little bit like Vegas. You go there and you do it, and it's like, okay, that was great, but now let's get out of Miami. Like I'm kind of that. I have that relationship with Miami and some other cities. In New York a little bit. Like I can go there for a week, but now I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get back home. It was fun. We had 4 or 5 nice nights there. We did everything you do in Miami. Now I'm ready to leave. So I don't know.
It'd be great if they could figure out a way to split Miami. I think they talked about this with Tampa. To get a team back in Montreal. The Rays would play half their games in Tampa, half their games in Montreal. Because so many Canadian snowbirds come down to Florida during the winter.
Well, I do know there, and I think this has probably been thrown out a little bit. There's talks of 2 expansion teams. And I've heard that one is 2 of the locations, obviously one being Vegas and one being Nashville. It'd be 2. I mean, how do you not put one in Vegas now?
Dude, who goes to Vegas and goes to a baseball game?
I mean, who just, you know, being there and gambling and you know, hosts and casinos. Hey, I give you free tickets to the baseball game or the hockey game. Like, I know a lot of people that go to Vegas many times a year, and they're going to the sporting events just because they're there. It's just something to do. You know,
baseball games are different though, because you could be there for like 4.5 hours. And
you can leave though. You can always leave. I mean, go watch 4 innings, 5 innings.
Hey, and now people are gonna say like, this guy doesn't even like baseball. I'm talking about going to Vegas. I'm talking about going to Las Vegas. This is a completely different mindset than I'm going to Fenway for a bucket list trip. I'm talking about going to Las Vegas, hitting the tables, and getting loose. Maybe if you could do like that'd be sick if you could do like a pool party in the outfield. You know, and they got girls walking around, bottle service. Maybe.
Well, they're going to make it kind of like that. Like in Miami, it was the Clevelander and it was in right field, and then it was in left field. Then they moved the visiting bullpen to right field because of I don't know if it was because of the distraction or the home dugouts on the third base side anyways. But the bullpens were flipped. But, you know, I remember warming up in Miami. You got the bar and in left field, and you're trying to get ready for the game, and there's chicks with their asses out, trying to distract you, which works pretty well. But you would assume that Vegas would have kind of a similar vibe, table service, bottle service, all that kind of shit. I don't know. I just think it definitely works. It's done really well for the other sports teams, so far.
What name? I'm saying the Las Vegas Dealers, because like the pitcher they deal, or I don't hate the pit bosses. No, that's lame. That's lame.
Yeah, I mean
all the Vegas
kind of gay too. I don't know.
All the Vegas themes are like you could have like eye in the sky cam instead of kiss cam. It's like eye in the sky.
I like that.
Yeah, just a little weird stuff. What do you do like? Trying to think of table games. It doesn't matter. I'll be in Vegas. For the home opener whenever they launch that team. Nashville makes sense too. Great baseball culture down in Tennessee. I don't know if they cannibalize Braves fans.
It's an awesome area. Beautiful city. A great summer city.
A little congested.
Well, it's getting that way.
A lot of traffic, a lot of construction. Yeah. I think it's appropriate to go to Liam Hendriks here.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You have a huge night of competing in a national championship game.
Yeah, it's it got butterflies. A little, I don't want to say I'm nervous. It's a nervous energy. Not even close to what the players are feeling. And we tried to get out there, try to get to the game. I've got a big physical tomorrow, so I wasn't really able to get back in time. So like we do physicals every year in spring training, but since I'm not playing anymore, got to do all the blood work and that shit tomorrow, kind of mid-morning. So kind of put a wrench in my plans, but we'll be watching. And there's something about it's actually a little bit easier just to be at your boy's house or at your house watching it at home, eating food, your own food, and just chilling, not have to get on a fucking plane and fly back to Austin the next morning. So a little upset I won't be there with a bunch of guys I played with who were there's, let's say, six or eight guys, maybe 10 guys that'll be out there. But everybody was scattered around. It was so hard to get tickets together. And then the suites, they were charging $130,000 plus for a suite. And me and Carpenter were talking about it a little bit, but it ain't worth that. We're not spending that kind of money.
Yeah. Don't. Save it.
Yeah, I would have got killed. Brittany she would have shot me. Trying to be better about budgeting.
Well, that's what happens when you keep guns in the house.
No, don't say that.
What? That's a thing, though. I'm. All right, we're gonna talk to Liam Hendriks. We're gonna run this interview back again. Thoughts and prayers with this guy. Very close. Shouldn't say very close. A friend of the program. A guy I admire tremendously. His path in baseball is awesome. He's just a badass. I don't know.
He is a badass. A guy that commands a lot of respect from obviously his teammates and Chicago fan base, but from everybody around the game of baseball.
So without further ado, let's revisit our conversation with Liam Hendriks from the summer. We're in the interview portion of today's show. We are joined by all-star reliever, White Sox closer, Liam Hendriks. Liam, welcome to the show. I broke my wrist riding the scooter.
Which brand? No.
Do you even know?
One of the LA scooters around here.
It wasn't the scooter's fault. I promise you that.
No, because we in 2015 with the Jays, we had a scooter gang. So David Price came in, was traded from the Tigers, and came in and bought everyone's scooters. Just the e-scooters, and then we would take them on the road. So we'd have like 9 or 10 of us. And you're in the American League East, so you've got Boston, you got Tampa, you got Baltimore, all these great places to ride scooters. Well, I still remember a guy hitting a pothole and flipping over. Turned out he hit the pothole, flipped into the trapper keepers that were standing outside Boston Stadium. And guy caught him, landed. Guy's like, okay, cool, thanks, yeah, and then walked in. Didn't even stop the sign.
Didn't get hurt. Didn't get hurt.
Didn't get hurt.
That's good.
Didn't offer to stop the sign for him. Nothing.
Now, so was this like the sit down kind of hybrid scooters? Or you standing up the whole time?
No, it's just standing up.
Standing up. Okay, so like a bird or something like that.
Kevin Pillar had a scooter. Had a speaker on the front of his. We had accessorized with some cup holders and all this sort of stuff, just to make it a little bit
for the
more.
waters.
No, yeah, water. It was for my
coffee.
For my coffee.
Yeah.
Well,
guys, I'm glad to hear that you guys did that kind of stuff, and it doesn't surprise me. I always told guys, when you go on the road, you got to get out and experience these cities. You have to do it. I had a folding bike that had like a electronic like kit on it, so I just ride everywhere. It went in like a duffel bag. And Toronto, Boston, like I said, AL East, great places to go.
Great places.
You got to get out and go. I mean, New York was tough.
Yeah, New York's a bit of a longer one. But then you just ride the subway for me. I enjoyed that sort of stuff.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, and we talk about this, Carl, right? Yeah. Like, guys think that certain cities like Detroit or Cleveland or Baltimore aren't great cities, or Cincinnati. I'm like, you just don't know what to do in those cities.
Yeah, I mean, you go anywhere. We were just in Cleveland last week, and so I was just walking around and took a scooter and just drove across the bridge, and then ended up in some area which was like really like quaint little place with a bunch of mom and pop coffee shops. And walking around there was fantastic. Yeah.
So do you tell the young guys like, hey man, don't stay in the hotel room till 1:30. Like, get up and get out.
We're lucky. We got some young guys who actually like being outside.
Yeah.
So that always helps. Like Andrew Vaughn, it's like he's always looking for a place to fish. He's always looking for a place to do something. So he's always out.
So he's looking for a fastball over the middle of the plate too. That guy can hit.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I mean, we make fun of him a lot just because you need to keep him humble. But
sure,
that guy has I faced him in spring training. Had him perfectly set up for a slider. I'm like, no. Spring training, I know the kid. I'm going to blow his doors off. And he hit an absolute missile to left.
Yeah.
On a ball that was probably just below his neck. Just absolute tomahawk.
Tomahawk. Tough to stay on top of a fastball like yours at 98, man. That's impressive.
Spring training, so mine usually sucks in spring.
Oh, okay. So low to mid.
Yeah, maybe. The velocity's
Velo's
fine.
good?
Velo's still fine. So that was probably 96-ish, but it's the ride. I had no life to it, so it just kind of thumbs on in there.
Yeah. So you come into spring hot. You've got the velocity finally.
I've been throwing bullpen since November.
100%.
That's the way I grew up playing. I grew up throwing every single day.
Yeah.
And so you don't stop. So for me, it was when I realized that I can't make a throwing program myself. I suck. I get hurt that way because I'll take a month or two off, and then all of a sudden I want a long toss day one.
So you just. And I've heard guys do that. I know Scherzer would kind of play catch once or twice a week all throughout the off season. So that's kind of you don't
similar
stop.
Concept. I'll go there the first probably month. I'm just 3 days a week, and then I start getting heavy, and then I start throwing bullpens so I can try and at some point hopefully solve why I suck in April so much.
Wait, has this changed at all from we were just BSing before, and now you're a regular all-star? Right now, you are at the point where you're very dominant, and almost to the point. Hopefully, later we'll get into this. They traded for a first ballot Hall of Fame closer, and you're the closer. So we're at no point where we need to even talk about why you're sitting in a chair. We're doing this stuff, but it wasn't like that, dude. It wasn't at that point. There's several points in your career where this doesn't seem like it would be part of the fairy tale. So I'm curious where. Are you making those changes where you're like, all right, no, I have to go back to throwing year-round, and when I go back to the bullpen, were you trying to be a starting pitcher, trying to be somebody you weren't, and you're like, no, I'm just going back to how I did in Australia?
So coming over, I was that was the way we did it. I was part of the Institute of Sport down there, and that was prelude to the Olympics. So it was always just you throw year-round, you do this, and then when I came over here, I was started for that was 2007. I think my last start was 2014. And at that point, I'm trying to be a starter. I didn't really think too much about the bullpen. At that point, I still thought it was a demotion. And then in 2015, I'm with the Jays, and they were like, hey, look, our rotation's full. We don't have a spot for you. We know you're out of options. Would you consider going to the bullpen? Whatever it takes to get me on this team. And that was one thing. So I was the long guy to start off with. There was two long guys. We had a bit of a battle going on. And he had the seniority. I had better numbers at the point. And then ended up choosing me. The other guy ended up getting DFA'd and stuck around all year. And then the progression got, I started long tossing with Mark Lowe. And when I started long tossing with him, my velocity started rapidly increasing. Like I was
Heavy
in the,
sinker guy, right?
Yeah, he had been really good for a number of years. Everyone remembers him for giving up a homer to David Freese in the World Series when he was in Texas.
Yeah.
And he reminds everybody of that too at times.
Yeah,
so it's fine.
yeah. You got to make fun of yourself sometimes.
Yeah, without a doubt. And everyone
Shout out, Mark.
everyone kept calling him Derek. He's like,
Smart.
what? You got the right stats, but you got the wrong name. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? But yeah, long tossing with him, and all of a sudden my velo went from maybe sitting 93, 94 in the pen to the end of the year that I was sitting 97, 98.
Now, what do you attribute that to?
To be honest, I think it's just more throwing.
Just
like,
more throwing.
Throwing, like whether it be the long toss to really get everything extended out, whether it be throwing a flat ground every single day. Like my normal routine up until I had my forearm strain earlier this year was long toss every single day from the line to the line to center field fence. Come back in and throw 2 of every pitch with the catcher up, 2 of every pitch with the catcher down, and then tell the catcher to pick out a sign on the other wall, and I try and throw a ball over it.
I love that. Now, do you think that that's something, and that's kind of foreign, but I like that. I think especially overhand throwing. When you throw underhand, you can do whatever the hell you want, right? But once you come up over the shoulder, there's so many moving parts.
Yeah. Well, it helps that I am foreign, so it works.
Yeah. I mean, it's an amazing accent.
Yeah,
it's
it
fucking
comes and
amazing.
goes. It's sometimes it's a little thicker right now because my parents are here.
Yeah. Okay.
So
okay.
they rub off on me a little bit, but yeah, it's nice. My wife gets annoyed because there's certain words that I say that she just despises.
And is she from here?
She's a dually, American Canadian.
Okay.
What do you think about the dialect on the south side of Chicago, the way those people speak the English language?
It's interesting. I'm all open for different dialects, different accents because I feel like it shows character. It builds character. I mean, like I remember I played with a guy who was from the middle of Boston, and he worked so hard to get rid of his Boston accent. And it was just, what are you doing?
Right.
Embrace it.
Right.
You're a bean eater. Go for it.
Now,
You know, wild
embracing
and
that,
we're
can I-
all, yeah. Go ahead.
Well,
go ahead.
it's really, I am from the neighborhood that you play for, although I am a Cubs fan. We don't
That's
need to tell
disappointing.
that story, I know. But
For
like
all the hoity-toity Cubs fans.
my old man, I mean, he's the type of guy who sits in the garage and watches you guys play and yells at the TV and drinks his Miller Lite and stuff. And I know firsthand like what you mean to White Sox fans and all that stuff. But I'm interested because this is like a national audience and stuff. I'm interested if you could explain your bond to White Sox fans, because I think you guys really like there's something special there where like when you speak, people love the message you have, and like you don't, and that's something that's traditional to White Sox fans, especially in my lifetime, going back to the days with like Ozzie, where Ozzie just kind of like says it how it is. The media respects that, the fan base respects that. Like, do you see that? Do you feel that?
I got lucky in the fact that I came over with Lance Lynn. Like we're at the same time. So
we were
me
just
and
talking
Lance,
about Lance.
Me and Lance are like Lance is one of my favorite teammates I've ever had in my life. He is absolutely incredible.
So glad to hear you say that.
Oh, he's the best. But like he's also someone who can rally the troops, but he also screams.
Yeah.
His profanity tends to be a little bit more original than mine. Mine's very like overused and the same stuff.
I was going to ask you about that too.
New stuff. But I think they've really embraced that because of the energy levels. It's something that we're passionate about what we're doing. We're not just going out there and kind of looking very blase out there. And it's something that we want to make sure like that's the same way both of us have always pitched. But the South Side just it reverberates just attitude, and that's something that they can really I think relate to. But also in interviews stuff like that, it's just I try and be as genuine as I possibly can.
It's refreshing for the fans too to see that
something that's genuine, but also not just the same overused kind of cliched
Regurgitated,
lines.
yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
Maybe there's something about you being from Australia where, like, it's just not in your head to be afraid the way a guy who comes up in the system traditionally, and it's just like, dude, you don't say that. That's not how we do it.
You could
here.
always
That's not how we do it here, because like you'd be afraid, like, well, I don't know these guys, this and that. Like, is there any part of that where you come in here and you're like, yeah, I don't have that experience of?
I always
being afraid of
joke
it.
around the fact that I can say whatever I want because contract's guaranteed.
That's true. I mean, some guys are afraid of like the backlash,
Yeah,
or being reprimanded by, or you know, shunned by the media or the front office. It's like, no, just let it fly. Like
Well,
if you're not offending anybody, like
I
just
always
let it
have
fly.
conversations with the media off the record. You just sit around and talk to them.
Yeah.
You sit around and talk to them, and one, if you say something that's a little maybe iffy, they tend to like either code it a little bit more, or
Sure.
they just don't put it in because they're like, hey, look, this guy may have said something that
Yeah.
borderline something that may get him some backlash. Let's not do that, and then he'll be grateful later.
Sure.
Which is, but
Well, I'm sure you don't mind a little backlash. Like you said before, like this is highly competitive.
Yeah,
we're
without a
playing,
doubt.
playing a sport at the highest level, and sometimes we just let shit fly.
And look, I don't say anything that I don't actually believe, and that's one thing that I think it really reverberates through everything is the fact that I don't talk about things. I want to know what I'm talking about for the most part. And two, everything I talk about, I'm passionate about. So it's like it's not just me fabricating a story or asking the media to ask me a question. If they ask me a question, I'm going to give you a truthful and honest answer.
Right.
So this week, All-Stars festivities, it's so cool to me because you get the different talents and the skill set. So I'm just curious, like, are there any guys in the bullpen you'll sit closer to, tonight and be like, hey, what do you do with that splitter? Or are you that type of player where you'll be picking your teammates' brains, or is it more just like you guys will be sitting there talking about the ocean and kind of?
No, have you seen Class A's cutter? It's 100. If he could teach me that one, I'd be grateful.
Man, I don't think anybody else can throw that.
Clay Holmes could teach me his sinker, I'd be grateful. Mm-hmm. If Lopez could teach me his sinker, I'd be grateful. If Soto could teach me how to dye my hair blue and be successful, that'd be great. Yeah. Romano and me throw very similar, so I'll be picking his brain a little bit just about the way he goes about it. But I'm really trying to get Ohtani to teach me his splitter.
No,
come on, mate. Just give me a chance.
Yeah,
will you actually walk up and be like, "Show me the grip"? Or
I've already asked him, like, "Hey, I need you to teach me the shoot, though."
Yeah. Well, that's a pitch. I wish I had started throwing that pitch at a young age.
Well, so I'm pretty sure that's the reason I ended up having a forearm strain because I threw a split finger in practice all year last year.
And never threw in the game?
Never threw in the game. This year I was like, no, you know what? Split finger, it's not a pitch that I'm going to try and get to. Let me try a changeup. And then I got hurt this year, so maybe I'll just go back to the splitter.
Maybe mess with the Gosman grip. You know that?
Yeah, the Vulcan thingy. Oh, yeah.
That might work out.
I've tried so many different variations. The ones that always seem to be successful are always the ones that hurt. My blisters on fingers and all that stuff. So they're always the one that,
Well, so Devin Williams throws that super high spin rate.
That would break my arm.
Exactly, because he overpronates. I think it's like his wrist and hand mobility. Like certain guys are just.
Jarrell Cotton for the Twins is the same thing. Like
very
high spin rate change-up, and his is like a left-handed curveball.
Right, and then Gosman's is a low spin rate, but it falls off the table. Now, I thought that a change-up had to be high spin to do that, but apparently not. But his play is more almost like a knuckleball.
Yeah, so I've been I don't know if you've heard Get Into the Blue. It's a guy who just does heat maps and stuff like that.
Exactly, so every time pitching away from slug.
Yeah, so every time I will go and do like any sort of thing, I'm like, hey, what's a good number for this? Okay. And then I'll do it on the rap, so it's like a split finger. It's you want to be around like 1,500 RPM.
As far as spin rate.
Yeah, so I'm talking about spin rate extension, like rotation, all that sort of stuff. Like, hey, what are the better ones at so I can have a goal of where I want to get to?
Now, so will you intentionally try and get the ball's spin rate at a certain – with like the Rapsodo?
It's mainly just a guideline for me. So it's like, okay, if I'm throwing a splitty and I see 2,500, I know that will probably don't have it, or I fiddle around with grips and just I'm not trying to actively change anything in my actual arm action.
Okay.
It's all about
more about grip.
I'll change grips
and hand
around.
position.
So it's all about that. Just trying to figure out which works the best. But in saying that, none of my pitches really have unbelievable metrics by any means. Fastball is 2,300 spin rate. I get good ride because I'm straight over the ball.
So your fastball doesn't have a lot of vertical drop.
Doesn't have very much vertical drop.
It'll stay on the plane.
That's what I'm saying. I want it to be as straight as possible.
And that's with a lower, not a super high spin rate.
So that's been right around an average spin rate.
Now, so how the physics of it don't make sense.
I have a high extension.
High extension.
So I'm about 7'2", 7'3" foot at release point.
How tall are you normally?
6'1".
That's
so
amazing.
I get out there a little bit better. So I learned that from using my repeat.
Well, and the young kids watching this, it's amazing to see a guy like Liam still tinkering with grips and on the side. Like never stop doing that. That's why I tell young kids, my grip on my changeup might not work for you, or my fastball. Move the ball around when you're playing catch.
Just
try different hand positions. Move your wrist a little bit. Don't necessarily mess with your arm angle too much. Right, but mess with the grips.
Yeah, you don't want to change the way you throw because that's how people get hurt.
Exactly.
But you can mix around grips and stuff like that. I know so many people that have similar arm actions that all have different slider grips because it's the way their wrist comes out.
Sure.
Like you look at my curveball has apparently terrible metrics. It's just harder than everybody else's.
Yeah.
But other than that, like the metrics, the spin rate, everything is very, very, very below average. But it's the slugging and ISO and all that sort of stuff against is really, really good. And it may be a path thing, like a trajectory because of that to that.
Yeah.
Or it could have been the fact that I throw more sliders than curveballs, and even though the speed differential isn't as much as I'd like it to be, It's the different movement profiles that are.
Do you think you're deceptive too? Is there
I
deception?
think I hide it a little bit.
Hide it a little bit.
Yeah, there's been some times where it's like I get very fluid in my motion where everything is exactly the same speed, but I hide the ball. I'm very short arm, so I'm like I got the short arm behind me. But there's been some times where if I ever mess with any sort of timing mechanism, the hitter has no chance. Right. But I am always concerned with if I mess up my timing purposely here and he hits it, that's just going to make me look like an idiot. So I don't do that as much.
Sure.
And then I play with Cueto, who does it, and he's like, all right.
That's a different level.
So speaking of Cueto and the 2022 White Sox, we are you got a tight schedule here, man. You got a game to play tonight. We got time. We got a little bit of time left for like one or two more questions. On my end, I'm like super interested, and you guys seem to be playing your best baseball to close out the first half. It seems like the White Sox have some momentum. That door could be closed, and I'm interested in your perspective on it.
Yeah, we took 5 from 6 over the last 2 in Cleveland and 3 or 4 in Minnesota, which is great because they're both the 2 teams ahead of us. But I think, to be honest, we're getting back to where we should have been, but we got lost in complacency at the start of the year. We got lost in the fact that our team has really good stuff on paper. We should just breeze through this. We're going to be fine, no worries. And then all of a sudden, we didn't put enough work in. And that's on the players. It's not on anybody else. That's just on the players. We didn't put enough work in, and then since then, we were like, okay, we need to go. And then we pressed too hard, and then we overdid it. And then we started making routine errors, and we started making bad pitches or like overextending ourselves. And then now we're getting back to, okay, we're still working hard, but now we're able to relax and just go for it. And that's something that is a lot easier. But it's always easy to play the underdog. It's always easy to play from behind because you got nothing to lose. It's always easy to be backed into a corner. But, yeah, we showed some fight. We had some sparks over the course of the year, but we weren't able to catch fire. And I'm really hoping this 4 days here doesn't kind of dull the flames that we had that last couple series. So hopefully we can take it and run with it.
And then I guess this is probably the most important question we had. Jake and I were talking before the show. I mean, as an Australian guy, like, what's up with the ocean?
Oh, I was telling him, man, what's your relationship with the ocean? I'm terrified.
So my high school, I could throw a baseball from the field into the water.
Okay.
So I was.
So you're a surfer or?
Never surfed.
Good. Stay out of the water.
Did sailing as part of my school class because I went to a nice school.
Okay.
And that ended up turning out to be my best friend's one of my best friend's best friends.
Okay.
Different schools, but he was the coach. He was the teacher for the sailing lesson. We hated each other. Lesson 1, lesson 2, and then before the next lesson, we went out together or something like that. We caught each other outside, and we just clicked on that. And then from that on, I was on his boat, and all we did was sail around. And you know when you're on skates and you do the break and you spray ice on people, we did that, but in a boat.
Okay, so
we're just spraying people everywhere.
In a sailboat.
In a sailboat. And it was a little 2-person sailboat.
Okay.
But it was so much fun.
Just random people spraying.
Yeah. But my relationship with the ocean is great because I was surf life-saving. We all did that. I had my bronze medallion, which means I could be it's probably expired by now, but I could have been a surf lifesaver going out there and doing all that sort of stuff. I love the water. I hate the sand. I don't like sand.
Yeah,
sand gets
I don't
everywhere.
mind sand until you're wet.
Well, like
then
Florida,
the sand sucks.
Then also, like, we've been living in Florida, so like Florida sand sucks. It's way too fine.
Where in Florida?
Fort Myers.
Oh, so you're on the East Coast.
Yeah, so I came up with the twins, so we just stuck around there.
Yeah.
Met the missus in a hospital down there, and we stuck around, and then we, so that's where we're at. We're splitting time between there and Arizona right now because of spring training with that. With the White Sox and everything like that, and plus there's way more food to eat in Arizona, which is
that's
right up my
true.
alley.
Yeah.
You look good, though.
You look phenomenal.
Yeah, it's
you look phenomenal.
I'm hungry.
You do. The hair, everything, the package. I saw the watch earlier.
I think
everything
Coffee's
beautiful suede, man.
This is this is from Charles Harris. He's my current designer.
Yeah, it didn't go unnoticed.
My stylist. He's been great because my style before this was whatever I could find at Lululemon.
Now, is that something that you just being in the big leagues for a long time? You're like, man, I have to step my game up, or was that?
It was
mama,
for my wife.
Okay,
Wife was like, hey, I need to be able to be comfortable seeing you, like standing next to you in public.
Sure, you can't always look like you're going. To
Yeah,
do
you
yoga.
can't always look like that. Like
you
we
can't
need
always
to
look
at some
like
point.
this guy, huh?
Well, not with the wrist then. But we need something going on in there, and it's the same. He's actually the same size as does Tim Anderson as well.
Oh,
and
so-
we have very different.
So you know
styles.
he's good.
So
Yeah, I don't wear
clean.
tracksuits as much as Tim.
No, tough for us to pull that kind of thing off.
Yeah, he has the really nice tracksuits, and I was making fun of him yesterday. But the like $2 tube socks. So I'm like, you need to get some better socks. Like,
Gotta have better socks.
Gotta have better socks.
If you're gonna have a $3,000-$4,000 outfit,
yeah, and
spend
I'm the
40,
more
50
of
on
the
socks.
type. Hey, give me the fun characters from Star Wars on the stance socks. I'm in.
Got it.
We're going to stop right there. I got the Stance Darth Vaders in the room. This is Liam Hendriks. This is Starting 9 All-Star Break. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get more great interviews like this with a big, handsome hunk of meat like this, man.
Sexy guys. Thanks for being with us, Liam.
I appreciate
it,
Thanks for
man.
having me.
All right, that's Liam Hendriks. Wish him the best, obviously, in his recovery and treatment. One of the legends in the game right now. Oh.
Yeah, sad time for Liam and his family, but he's obviously he exudes the strength and the mindset to get through this, and just seeing his comments and how he's approaching the situation. He seems like him and his family are in a good place, or at least as good as you can be. Considering the news. So we'll be thinking about him, and I don't know if it's appropriate to reach out or check in on him, but maybe if as news comes out that he's doing better, maybe we can kind of get him on the phone, or just shoot him a text and just let him know we're thinking about him.
This is Starting 9, Tuesday, January 10th. We'll be back on Thursday morning. I think with an interview for some of my adversaries. More details on that coming. Until then, subscribe to the YouTube page, rate, review the show. We'll see you guys next time.